schools take a holistic approach to the review process, where they will consider everything you submit in making their decision to admit you to their program. Despite what many may theorize, there's no secret formula they use to assign any certain amount of weight to specific components of your application, like the Lsat or the GPA. Your Lsat is weighted against your GPA in the same way it's considered alongside your essays, letters of recommendation, resume, and everything else that you provide to them. When discussing law school admissions, many conversations default to talk of GPA and Lsat and focus on that. The reason for this is because those are the two quantifiable common denominators among all applications, so it just becomes easy to use and define successful applicants with those metrics. You can't really quantify a good essay or great work experience like you can a GPA, but that doesn't mean those other aspects of your candidacy aren't equally important. When making decisions of admission, there's essentially a twofold review process. There's a vertical layer of review and a horizontal layer. The vertical layer is where you're evaluated on your own credentials. Schools look at all of the materials you submit to them and determine if you could succeed in their program. There's also that horizontal layer of review. This is when they compare you to everybody else in the application pool to see how you stack up. There's a finite number of seats they're trying to fill in their incoming class, and though the exact number fluctuates a bit year to year, schools are trying to recruit the very best candidates to fill their class, and the only way to determine that is by comparing applicants to one another. The good news is that you do have some control over this process. For the vertical layer of review, you need to ensure that everything you submit is a polished document free of errors that puts you in the best light. For the horizontal layer, you control when you apply to school, and this impacts the breadth of the horizontal review a school can conduct. The earlier you apply, the smaller the application pool, so schools will rely more heavily on assessing your own credentials and making a decision to admit you, rather than comparing you to everybody else, simply because there's not many applicants at the beginning of the cycle to compare you to. This might seem obvious, but at the very start of every admissions cycle in the fall, no one knows if it's going to be a competitive application year or not. Use that to your advantage. Many schools employ rolling admissions, which means as the applications are submitted to them, they actively review them and return decisions of admission. Some schools might hold off on releasing their decisions for a few months after their application opens. And the reason for this is to help them see how you stack up against others, as more applications will be submitted with time. The admissions process is a bit of a dance between you and the law schools. There's strategy involved in both sides. Schools are trying to be strategic, so they only admit the most qualified candidates without losing the interests of applicants that they're not as sure about. At the same time, candidates are trying to apply early when schools are operating with a bit of a blind spot, uncertain of how the year will shape up and the strength of the application pool. I hope you now have a better understanding of the application review process. For more questions about your specific candidacy, don't hesitate to reach out to us or purchase a consulting package on our website to discuss how best to strategize your own application.